What music they make.
Sejam bem-vindos a mais um podcast de Metal Global. Hoje a conversa é com Phil Pendergast dos Khemmis, eles que editaram no passado mês de junho o seu novo álbum homónimo. Antes da conversa com o Phil, não quero mais lembrar que tem a versão rádio exclusivo na RTP Play, a passar por lá e procurar por Metal Global. Os porta-estandartes do Doom de Denver estão de regresso. Já está cá fora o novo álbum homónimo dos Khemmis, lançado através da Nuclear Blast Records. Este é o primeiro disco de estúdio da banda, desde o aclamado Deceiver, editado em 2021, e chega como uma verdadeira força da natureza. Riffs imponentes, melodias assombrosas e aquele peso emocional esmagador a que já nos habituaram. É um dos trabalhos mais marcantes da carreira do grupo, e para falar sobre este novo trabalho, a conversa com o guitarrista vocalista Phil Pendergast. Sem mais demoras, Khemmis no Metal Global.
Hey, what's up, Jorge?
Hello, Phil. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Everything is good. How are you?
Good. Great. Are you able to hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. I'm just enjoying those guitars in the background.
Oh, yeah. It's a little bit ridiculous. We moved into this place that doesn't have any like closet space really, and so I can't like hide them away anymore. I just have to have them all out and then constantly be embarrassed about how many guitars I have.
I don't think there's nothing embarrassing about it. The only question I have is if you play them all.
I do actually. Yeah. I have an agreement with myself where if I don't play them, I have to get rid of them.
Well, do you have a favorite out of those that are in the back there?
This is my main one that I use for the band. And it's a custom guitar made by a friend in LA. But I also have a strong attachment to this white V up here too. That was the one that I sort of first was playing in the band when we started, and that inspired Ben to also start playing flying Vs. So that one has an important place in my heart too.
What was the guitar player that inspired you to get the V, if there was one?
I mean, it's kind of everyone like that has played the V has been cool. You know, like you've got the Priest guys. Yeah. That's an iconic fucking V moment. I think the other big one would be like Billy Gibbons occasionally whipping out a V. And, you know, if you've got people like on the more modern side of things, like Brent Hines, rest in peace, playing a V. And I don't know, just like a lot of my favorite guitar players, even going all the way back to like Albert King, have always played Vs. So I just have always thought they're badass. And then it turns out that they're also like the most comfortable guitars to play live because they kind of just sit on your leg perfectly.
Yeah, that was when I talked with Michael Schenker some years ago. That's the thing he said. It's just the shape of it just fit perfectly between his legs, whatever. And he just could play, you know, it was perfect for him. So
yeah. I mean, Schenker would be another big one too. Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the self-titled new record. 5 years since Deceiver. Obviously, the question is, why 5 years? Why so long?
I mean, a lot of it just had to do with kind of the time period in which Deceiver came out. You know, we were recording and finishing writing that record right in the midst of the beginning of COVID, and then it took a while for us to be able to really play live again after that. And so we kind of just spent the first 2 or 3 years after that record came out touring and kind of trying to take advantage of those opportunities when they came up as much as we could. So we got to do things like go out with Mastodon and Opeth and Trivium and do some headlining stuff and go to Europe and play a bunch of the big festivals. And so it was like cool to carve out the time to be able to do that properly. We started really trying to focus on writing a new record kind of after most of that touring was finishing up. We were kind of reflecting on like, what were the things that really felt like they worked well in a live setting. And that was kind of originally what the band started trying to do, was like just play shows locally in Denver, try and play the most, like badass fun songs for the crowd to rock out to. And so we kind of just came back to that inspiration. We were realizing we're playing these big venues with these big bands and like seeing what works and then what doesn't translate quite the same. And I think for us there's always going to be a distinction between like album and live tracks where the focus is maybe more on one thing than on another. And we just tried to sort of think about what would it look like if we tried to write the most just like stacked record of bangers that we could, that was like all live tracks, and that we're just kind of like letting it rip and having as much fun as we possibly can. That was like the motivation. So it took us 4 years to try and figure out kind of like what the like main motivation for the record was going to be. And then I think it came together pretty quickly once we decided that was what we were doing. I think we finished writing the record in like a little bit over a year. And then we were in the studio last summer recording it. And then, because of how long everything takes.
So the self-title, the name for self-title is like in your beginning, it's like, that's what Khemmis is about really. So it's like from now on, or you guys will try be a bit more like this in the coming years?
I don't know if it like marks a permanent change in terms of like us trying to only write records like this. But it does kind of like reinforce what the band is trying to do. I think from the very beginning of the band, we set out to be trying to write music that was not just categorizable as doom, even though that was kind of the scene that people were associating with us with. And we've always had these like twin guitar moments that come from Thin Lizzy and, just like a love of rock and roll that comes from an appreciation of like ZZ Top and Southern rock in general. And so we just like wanted to get back to the spirit of that and kind of redefine that the band is just like a capital H, capital M heavy metal group that can try and do whatever we want within the sphere of heavy metal. And so, it's like maybe reaffirming some of the darker aspects of our interests in like black and death metal across the record as well, kind of trying to like integrate all these different directions more cohesively than we have before and do it in the most like straightforward way that we've ever tried to, trying to write shorter songs. Everything is to the point, trying to write everything that's catchy that we can, while still delivering those like emotional moments. So it just felt like we were kind of distilling down the Khemmis formula to like its like finest juice. And then we're asking you to slurp the juice with us. And this magnificent Khemmis juice that we've distilled this down to, I think just like says everything that we've been trying to do. And the other part of it is that we kind of do have a new version of the band, and it felt important to try and emphasize that as well. So, this is our first record with our new bass player, Dave, and he brought so much to the writing process and to our approach to sort of having the rhythm section operate in a different way than it had before, that we just felt like it was like a reinvigoration for the band, and that it made sense to sort of restate like, this is what Khemmis is. And that part is part of what it will look like going forward. I don't know if we'll make another record that looks like this, but I think that this is like the new definition of the band.
Yeah. So with this record, when you guys were writing, you had in mind that these songs are meant to be played live, all of them. Because for me, and I bring this a lot in some interviews, and it kind of saddens me when a band puts out a new record and most of those songs never see the light of day in a live setting. And sometimes it's where those songs tend to shine a bit more, it's when they're played live. So the idea will be to try to play, if not all of them, most of these songs live in upcoming tours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to try and be playing the whole record all the way through anytime soon, but I think the idea was that, like, what if we wrote a whole record of 5-minute songs, essentially, that are all playable, that don't have a whole lot of additional sort of necessary, like, overdubbing of elements that will work in a live setting with the configuration of the band that we have. that will translate in a live setting and that we could hypothetically like insert into set lists depending on what the situation is that we're playing for. So, you know, for like a European festival run, we might insert a couple of different songs than we would in the US. For a support tour for a bigger band, maybe we'd focus on these ones. So the idea was just like to try and build sort of a playlist of stuff that we could be inserting more easily into set lists. And I don't know if that means that we'll actually end up playing all of these songs live at some point, but hypothetically, they're all a good fit, depending on what the vibe is. So that was really the intention. And I do think it'd be cool to try and do the whole record at some point. But for right now, the focus has more been on, we haven't gone and done like a headlining tour in a while in the US. So try and give people like a mix of new and older stuff. Same thing with Europe when we're going to be coming back there later this year. So, yeah, don't expect to like only see the new songs, but expect to see a few of them.
I wouldn't mind if you guys, I mean, why not take a chance with that? I mean, not play just the whole record and play probably a couple of older tunes, but why not take a chance with that? I mean, what you got to lose at the end of the day? I'm not sure.
Totally. I mean, it's also more about like what's fun for us. And to some degree, like the older songs are fun to play. And the newer songs are harder to play. And so having a mix of stuff that is like just fun and pleasurable to play that we're familiar with, and then newer stuff that's more of a challenge is like probably the ideal sort of amount of that. I mean, yeah, it would also be fun to just have like a really challenging set where we're just plowing through the new record. But those songs are for sure like more complex than they seem. And especially for me, like running the vocals for the whole new record is more challenging than doing it for any other record that we've made. So, you know, it takes some amount of training to get there.
Yeah.
But a worthy challenge.
Yeah. And the challenge is launched. It's up to you to accept it or not.
Challenge accepted. Yeah.
And you were mentioning, you know, you're talking about labels in a sense that you want it to be more like heavy metal and just go through a bit of the genres. Don't you think the industry is kind of lost in labeling bands these days? I mean, when I see something shoegaze or post rock, post metal, I don't fucking know what that means. Honestly, I don't. What is it? Is it rock? Is it metal? It's nothing. Yeah. What is it? What's your opinion on that?
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm of kind of two minds about it. Like, on one hand, I think it's helpful to have some expectation of what something is going to sound like, so you know whether it's something you might like or not. But you might always like something, even if it doesn't fit like the definition of what you think you like. So I think that to some degree it takes away from that. And that's what I like about just labeling ourselves as heavy metal, is that it doesn't maybe matter what style of metal people are into. Maybe there's something there for you to enjoy. Yeah. So just getting rid of the extra tags facilitates maybe like a broader appeal potentially. And then whether people think that it sucks or not is like up to them. But, you know, we don't have to label it like death, doom, blackened, doom, blah, you know, like it doesn't have to be all that. It's just heavy metal. It's just fun. If you listen to like old Priest records, they don't give a fuck what the like definition is. They're doing proggy shit. They're doing metal. They're doing bluesy stuff. They're doing ballads. Like it can be whatever you want it to be. Yeah. And we've gotten too far with those definitions, I think, a lot of the time.
Yeah, for me, it's, you know, I get lost when, and especially like if you're doing like a radio show and you have to say something that, you know, I don't think people will get it. If you say it's like post-rock, Black and Death, I don't know if people really understand that or even care about. So it's...
I don't think so. Yeah, there's like the music nerd guy who's like, yeah, that's exactly how I categorize that. But then there's also like 99% of people who are like, yeah, that's rock music. Cool.
And when you guys were, how long did you guys spend in the studio, you know, recording the records? How long did it take?
We were there for a long time. This is definitely the most like intensive that we've ever been with recording a record. And part of that was like trying to get the vibe just right. We really wanted the record to sound organic and dark, without it being like inscrutable. difficult to sort of make out anything. Still keep it really clear and like modern in a sense, but like give it like a roughness that feels more like you're watching a band play it live. And so getting that just right took a long time. We also just wanted to give ourselves enough time so that we could have everything really mapped out for what we wanted to do for the record, but then in the studio have there be enough time for us to like follow our inspiration to do something. So if something like came up and somebody had an idea to do something, we had enough time to just make sure that we could like, okay, let's investigate that a little bit and see where it leads us. Just like create more opportunity for creativity to like emerge in the studio than we have before. And I think that also helps capture, like, I feel like the record is more exciting than any of our previous records. And I think that's part of it, is like that we were able to sort of capture those moments of like inspiration. And like, you know, also it can sometimes be pretty terrifying to like be committing to making this record, have a time frame for when things have to be done, and kind of not know what you're expecting to do. But that's also part of the challenge and the fun of doing it. Like, you know, I didn't have like any idea what the lyrics were for the record until we were in the studio, and that was deliberate. I wanted to like be channeling something that felt right during that moment. And so like each day before I'd be recording vocals, I would have lyrics, and then we would like workshop them in the morning and then just like let it rip. And so stuff like that, just letting it emerge in the process and trusting in the process. So we ended up being in the studio for like, I think about a month and a half, maybe a little bit over that. But you know, a lot of things go really quickly. Like drums were done in 3 days. Guitars take forever because we have a bunch of like layering and different tones and stuff. You know, I think we had maybe a week and a half for vocals. So, you know, everything gets its time, but we wanted to have that extra time to make sure that we were doing things that felt right. And it's made me like the happiest I've ever been in the production of one of our records. And so it like perfectly fulfills the expectation that I had going in, but also surprises me still in ways because we made room for that creativity.
Yeah. So normally for you, you know, to write lyrics, you prefer to wait for the music to be done to get inspired to write?
Yeah, I've always done that. So maybe the only thing that's like unique about this situation is that I really waited to see what the music looked like as it was recorded, rather than just knowing like what the songs were. And then I would just sit every day for like a month with headphones on in a dark room in the morning, right after I'd wake up, and I would light some candles and have some ritual objects out. And I would just listen and write in the dark and see what would flow out. And then I would try and organize the thoughts. And mostly I was just writing based on like the synesthesia of like the darkness and hearing the music, and then trying to put words to what I was like feeling and seeing in that space. So trying to just like embrace the like raw creative energy of the thing that I'm hearing translated into words was like my objective. I've usually been a lot more mental with like the way that I'm approaching writing lyrics, and this was way more of just like being based on like a feeling and like trying to channel something that was just like coming through from the music.
So normally it's not Dungeons and Dragons that inspire you to write.
No, and it's usually like very personal, you know, like I'm usually really trying to kind of mine like whatever things I'm currently dealing with in my life for subject for the lyrics. And sometimes that can be kind of painful. And in this case, it was sort of liberating to like free myself from that expectation to do that, and to instead just like embrace like, you know, this sounds like I'm riding some like black horses through the woods, and there's like a spooky castle, and then we're going there and there's a demon who's trying to beckon me into doing this thing. You know, it's like it was way more fun to just like channel that vibe and see what it was, where it was leading me. And then I always managed to sort of connect it to some aspect of something still that is personal to me. But that wasn't like the focus. The focus was on like imagery and vibe and like storytelling And so, yeah, maybe not directly D&D inspired, but the idea of just like embracing like a world that you're creating and then seeing what the characters do based on what the music is telling me was like the objective.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. And, you're mentioning when you guys were in the studio to have some freedom, for improvisation in a way to see how things go. Is there many first takes on songs on the album? If you remember any moment.
That's a good question. I know that there are, it's usually like less that we end up keeping the first take of something than it is that like we might be sort of coming up with something in the moment. And then the first thing that we do is then the thing that we like end up trying to record better. That's usually how it works out. So like if we're coming up with an idea, that first idea is usually the best one. But I think that there might be at least a couple of times where, like, for instance, I remember there being a couple of parts when we were tracking rhythm guitars. Like, usually when, for instance, like Ben has a solo over a section, I'll just end up tracking both of the rhythm guitars for that section so that they can, like, lock in and do kind of weird stuff together and it makes sense. You don't have to translate that to somebody else to play. And I remember that there was like multiple times when we were recording those parts where like we actually had stopped recording the section that we're working on. And I'm just like playing the next section. And then Dave, our producer, is secretly recording and is like, it actually like that was perfectly in time for the next section and had a great vibe. So let's just like use that. And so I know that we ended up with like a few parts that made it on the record where it was just me playing not to like a click track or to any backing track that just ended up like fitting perfectly. And we kept that. And it was sometimes me just like figuring out something. And I know that like on parts of solos and stuff, oftentimes like the first thing that you do ends up making it into. But it's less like a whole solo. It's like, oh, okay, those parts were really cool. And then like figure out a little bit better parts that connect them. Like on my solos, I usually just kind of let rip like 6 or 7 different solos. And then we kind of just figure out like what's the best parts of each one. And then like structure that and then replay parts if I have to. And then less so on like vocals, I think. Usually we're really trying to just like nail those as much as possible. And so usually that is not first takes. I'm not like especially good at just like letting it rip from not being in the zone already. I have to kind of like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm doing. And then like build up to it. So maybe less of that on that front.
Was there any moment or was there moments of frustration where you're trying to map things out? And I mean, it wasn't just your day for that.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time too. But you have to just keep going. Like the clock is still running. You still have to deliver something. And I know that there are moments where like frequently I'm getting frustrated in the studio. I'm like, this is just not good. It's not working. And then we always make it work somehow. And it's kind of okay. Like I think if you talk to any professional musician, they'll just say that you just do the best with the time that you're given. And that's all you can do. And sometimes things turn out that way. And sometimes those are like the best moments too, in retrospect, maybe not in the moment, not feeling that great, but so it doesn't really matter. I think that impulse to try and like make things perfect sometimes needs to be like walked back a little bit. Yeah. And we've struggled with where the line is with that before. And I think we were a little bit more willing to just like embrace a moment and kind of the chaotic energy of something seemed to work better with this record anyway. So it felt good to sort of just give in to that occasionally. I know, especially for Zach playing drums, like he sometimes gets pushed to like a limit where he's just like completely losing his mind and is furious. And he wouldn't mind me saying this. And Dave knows exactly how to like continue pushing him in those moments for him to give the best drum take. So like a lot of the record, especially on like the last 2 days of recording, was recorded by Zach while he's like super fucking pissed off and like frustrated with himself, but just delivering killer takes. And sometimes that's what it takes. You know, you never know, like each person's different. And for him being a little pissed off and trying to prove himself in a moment of desperation gets him where he needs to go.
And are you guys very much a perfectionist band when it comes to mentioning tempo? Like your producer was recording a take that you were playing and you were right on time. But are you guys always perfect in the sense of it has to be on the right timing? Because sometimes, you know, there's nuances. If you play a beat behind the beat or play something, you know, slow down a bit, you know, sometimes that might sound better. But are you guys very, you know, try to be strict with the metronome?
Yeah, it's a tricky balance because I agree with you that like oftentimes the best feel is not metronomic. But kind of the nice thing is that like none of us are, you know, I don't know if I should speak for everyone, but for myself, I'm definitely not like an adept enough player to play exactly on the metronome anyway. And so my tendency will be to be playing slightly off of it in a way that I think is good for the feel. And so maybe that's just me like rationalizing my own inability to play perfectly in time. But, you know, like I think that there's something to that. And we do like not clean up the stuff too much in that way. Like if it is a little bit off of what is perfect time, we try to usually make that work as long as it works with the groove of the song. And so, you know, usually what that means is like if there's a part that's deviating a lot from what the expectation is, we'll just have that person record like both guitar tracks so that it's lining up with the feel of that person's playing. And so like usually like in a lot of cases, I kind of have a pretty idiosyncratic style of playing sometimes. And so I'll end up playing both guitar parts. There also are a lot of more like technical passages that Ben is just better at playing than I am. And so he might play those. And so what you end up getting is like over the course of a song, something that is a combination of both of us playing and kind of like pulling slightly in different directions maybe. And then both of us playing one part and it locking up, but either having that like tighten things up or loosen things up. And I think it does create that sort of feel that feels more organic. And we've always done that, but I think we let it sort of ride in that zone a little bit more on this record.
Cool. And you mentioned touring earlier. This summer is going to be in North America for you guys. You guys are planning to come to Europe. Is there anything that you can say about it? What's going to be the period, headline tour, support? What can you say about it?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably coming out not like today, right?
No, it's
not. So like I think this week we're announcing a lot of the European shows, but people should just be looking out for us. We're going to be doing kind of like some headlining stuff across Western Europe mostly, and then sprinkled with some like festival appearances in the fall. So it's kind of like October timeframe. And yeah, we'll be playing like Desert Fest, the Copenhagen cruise, some other cool stuff. Yeah, it's just so it's like a mix of headlining dates and festival appearances. Yeah. And then next year we'll be coming back for like more of that kind of thing.
So next year is going to be tour for you guys?
I think probably quite a bit. Yeah. We're really trying to push this record and just make sure that we're getting it everywhere that we want people to be able to interact with us and with it. And I would love to keep up the momentum and just like use that to keep working on a new record as well and put something out without making people wait 5 years. People are like, is Khemmis even around anymore? Yeah. And we're like, yes, I promise.
And then you'll never know when there's a next pandemic. Now people are like that thing on that ship, that antivirus, whatever it's called, and they're just making a whole fuss about it. I know I was watching the news and they were making like live reports from the ship docking in Spain, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? It was just a surge there on that boat. It's not.
I know. It's not even a communicable virus, really. You have to be like, it has to be like your partner that's going to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, people blow things out of proportion sometimes, but I understand. Like, you have so many people that are telling you to be afraid all the time.
Yeah.
That is kind of like the worst thing that's happened because of how everybody is so online, is like everybody's exposed to everyone else's fears and people are profiting off of that. And so let this fucking heavy metal moment that we all get to exist in just be like a little salve to that fear. Exercise those demons in a more fun way, like try not to think about the Hansa virus. It's not going to get you. Let the metal get you instead.
Exactly. And that's why, I try to go to as much shows as possible and, just enjoy it. I don't know how long it's going to last, so let's just take advantage of the moment, and that's it.
That's all you can do.
Fuck those pandemics.
Fuck those pandemics.
Yeah. It was
and the fear mongering.
Exactly. Phil, thank you very much for your time. All the best for Khemmis. Hopefully you guys will come to Portugal on this touring cycle, so we'll keep the eyes and ears peeled to the news of touring when they come out. All right.
I'd love to see you guys next summer. Hopefully we'll make that work. Come and say hi if you do.
Yes, I will. Yeah. All right, Phil. Thank you very much. Have a great day and hope to see you guys soon. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Metal Global foi conversa com Phil Pendergast, guitarrista e vocalista dos Khemmis, eles que lançaram o seu novo álbum homónimo, que foi lançado em junho pela Nuclear Blast Records. A conversa com Phil, então, para contar um pouco mais sobre esta novidade da banda norte-americana. E assim chega ao final deste programa. Dúvidas ou sugestões, e enviar e-mail jorge.botas@rtp.pt. Visitem o site metalglobal.pt e procurem pela página de fãs no Facebook. É Metal Global, é só fazerem gosto ou seguirem a página como vocês preferirem. E claro, podem me seguir no Twitter e Instagram em @Mountain King. Se estão a ouvir em Apple Podcasts, Spotify ou YouTube Music, é favor subscrever para não perder nenhum episódio. Eu volto no próximo programa. Um forte abraço.
Children of the night, you will live through the centuries to come, as I have lived. Good night.